Good morning. Today we're going to be potting up tomatoes. The reason we pot up tomatoes is because they grow faster and more vigorous if you pot them up. So I have them in a plug tray. I'll take them out and put them in a bigger pot, and then another time in an even bigger pot, and then I put them in the ground. I don't know if I will pot things up twice this year, but we're going to do it at least once. Okay, it appears that my audio is totally destroyed for the rest of this video, so I'm going to do a voiceover, so this will be exciting. Okay, so what we have here is our 6-packs, and they're a deep tray. This was lucky because somebody stopped gardening, and they gave me all their equipment, and so this is pretty exciting to be able to have some of these brand new trays. A lot of times people are worried about using too much plastic, but I use a lot of plastic, and I don't worry about it because I will use a tray like this that I'm showing you dozens of times. I have trays that are 10 years old, and I've used them 3 or 4 times throughout the growing season. So they've been used 30, 40 times easily. And so I just use them until they completely break down. So I don't worry about filling the landfills with plastic because I don't really contribute to that. I'm not purchasing very many of these, and I totally recycle them. So when I put the 6-packs into the little 10-20 tray there, you can notice that they are taller than the 10-20 tray. The reason that is because these are a deep model, and you can buy the normal depths, or you can buy the deep ones. I really love the deep ones because you get a little bit more root growth in there. So I was lucky that that's what I got when somebody gifted me these. When I put the soil in, I do appreciate a tool to do that. I like just a simple little pitcher like I have here, or if you just have a gallon can or something, that'll work too. But you just turn it right over so that it's on there, and then you just gently spread it out to get your soil in there. It's very fast and efficient to do that this way. I'm doing it a little bit slower today because I do have living earthworms in this soil, and so I'm trying to go kind of gentle so that if there's a worm in there, there's one right there. If there's a worm in there, I don't cut him in half. I don't really want to hurt the worms, and so I'm going slower and more gentle than normal. I don't mind the worms in there. They're just going to keep doing their thing and making the soil more healthy, releasing wonderful plant food into the system. So once we get the soil filled in there, then we're ready to do the tomatoes and get the tomatoes out of the plug tray. What you can see here is that I've already started transplanting the plug tray, and so some of the aisles there are empty. You can see the empty aisles there. This plug tray was completely filled, but I started pulling them out and transplanting. So now I want to get the tag out here, and you can see on it, it says Big Braggart. That's the name of the variety, and then it says 5 plants. So I do write how many plants are on the tag so that I know how many I need once I go to plant those in the garden. So if I have extra plants, I can sell those or give them away. So now I'm just going to lift the tomato plants out of the plug tray, and I'm going to set them on there. If you find that they're starting to break off or the roots are pulling apart, then you would want to turn the plug tray over, and you would gently squeeze it just a little bit like that. Now I am breaking up the root ball to plant these tomatoes, so it doesn't matter if I squeeze those a little bit and break the root ball as they come out. So I'm just going ahead and breaking up the root balls a little bit to get them out. If I don't want the root ball broken up for certain species, then I wouldn't want to squeeze it like that. But for this way, it's an easy way to loosen them so that we can get them out there. And as you can see, the root balls are not breaking up very bad, so that's pretty good. There are 1 or 2 that break up in here during the process of doing this, but that's okay. There's one that just came out, and it didn't have much of a root ball on it, and I have one last one here to get, and then we will begin the transplanting process. Tomatoes are pretty tough. You don't have to be super gentle with them during this process. As long as you're not breaking off roots or cracking the stems in half, it's going to be just fine. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just gently take the root ball apart, and then we're going to separate double or triple plants that are in there. So I did put 2 or 3 or 4 seeds in each one, and that's fine. And so we'll take the plants apart, and then we stick our finger down in the soft dirt, and we put that plant down deep. So if I put the root ball in at the same depth it was growing in the plug tray, it doesn't really help us that much. So right there would be wrong to fill it with dirt. I want to go ahead and poke it way down in there like that, so that it's up to where the top of the leaves are. See where the leaves are? You want the dirt to cover all of that stem. So it is down in there. We're not covering any leaves, but we are going to cover the stem. And what that will do is the plant will grow roots on the stem where it is buried. So you'll have a stronger, more healthy root system. That is the number one thing for potting up a tomato or a pepper plant. So here again, we make the hole, we put it down, and we cover it up to the first leaves there. And that is how you pot up a tomato plant.
Okay, the reason I buried the stem with dirt all the way up here is because everything that's under the dirt will sprout roots. It'll give it a bigger, stronger root system. So I'm just putting my finger in all the way, lift the finger out very slowly, and then, and there we go, and that's it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put holes in each of these. Somebody once asked me, aren't you afraid you're going to smash an earthworm? Well, yes I am, but this is not a worm farm. This is tomato planting. So I'm not overly concerned if a worm does get smashed. There's no way I can fix that anyway. I can't really control everything in a gardening system. We have hundreds of plants to do. We can't mess around. We just have to get the work done. So, when I'm working with worms, I'm very conscious of not hurting a worm. When I'm working with tomatoes, I'm very conscious of not hurting tomatoes. So maybe that's not the perfect way to address this, but that's just kind of how I get things done. So I'm not overly concerned about the little worm in there at this point. Okay, Big Braggart is done, and I still have room in here. So I have planted them from here over. There's 2 empty cells. I will leave those 2 cells empty because I don't want to mix up my varieties. So now I have an Early Girl, a Madeline Vine Candy, and a beefsteak. I think I'll go ahead with these Early Girls. I'll loosen these Early Girls and we'll get them in here. The only reason I'm turning this is so I can show you what I'm doing. I'm just gently wiggling those just the littlest bit. So the plants will come out easy. Here's my tag, and let's see if the plants will come out. And they're coming out nicely. Yeah, that looks really good. Now at this point I'm going to give them water. I don't want the water to run off. I just want it to soak in. So I moved the watering can at a speed where it will soak through. If it does run off, it just erodes soil with it. That's the only reason I wouldn't run it off at this point. So now you can see the water that's staying on there. Now the water does infiltrate good into these. If I had a soil and I wasn't sure if water was penetrating, I would want to take one cell apart, get the dirt out, and make sure it was soaked all the way through. But I already know that this is infiltrating well and soaking in, just because it's a worm casting, and so that's what it will naturally do. If this was a peat moss, it may not do that. Hopefully this has helped you have the best garden of your entire life. And hopefully this has simplified some of the complicated things about gardening. You guys have a great week.